You know, this is one of those videos that's really hard for me to make because I have been bullied, humiliated, publicly shamed, and villainized for my choice to be a JPEG shooter. But today, guys, we stand together as JPEG people. We are rising up to the Ross, and we're gonna spit on their face. We're gonna spit on their graves, right? That's what we're doing. But today, we're gonna talk about how I edit my JPEGs and how I get my photos to look like this. Yes, those are all JPEGs. I'm gonna show you how to do that. So let's get it. In today's video, as you can see, I have my mic here because this shirt's really loose, so it's gonna look like I have a V-neck. And I have a very strong hate for V-necks because I'm traumatized since I was a child. So we're not gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about editing. So in today's video, I'm gonna take you through a photo shoot. So it's gonna be kind of like a two-part kind of thing. I'm gonna show you the photo shoot first, and then I'm gonna show you the editing part of it. Mind you, this is not heavy editing. I don't do a lot of heavy editing on my photos. I just like it a certain look, and there's a way that I achieve that certain look. So I'm gonna show you that. Don't assume that you can just apply this to every photo, even though I do that sometimes. But anyways, now I'm yapping too much. Let's get into the video. What is up, guys? Welcome back to Once Upon a Time. We are here at the studio in New York with these amazing people, and we're gonna show you a little bit about editing, but first we have to take some photos. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves and maybe tell me a little bit about what you do and what the vibe is today.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I'm the model for today. I'm also a photographer, so that's how Juan and I bonded. And yeah, I'm so excited to shoot. We're gonna do some fun makeup looks.
Hi, I'm Tasia. I'm a makeup artist, and we're doing a fun, colorful look today with a little glitter lip. Yeah, I'm super excited to get started.
Let's get into the damn thing. Let's do black, white shirt.
Yeah.
And then so we'll do that, this thing, the black tie, and then the blue jacket over it. And then we'll start off with no hat, and then we'll do hat. Look at all these toys we have today, guys. So, yeah, the color is stunning already. Just testing. Magic. All right, so let's get into the actual photo shoot itself, because at the end of the day, if you don't have any photos to take, you don't have anything to edit. And I wanted to talk to you about specifically here why I'm shooting in this shade area. If you've been a fan of the blogs, you've seen that almost all my photos are exclusively shot on natural lighting and in the shade. And the reason why I do that is because of two main things, really. One of them is that I love ISO. I don't mind having grain in my photos. I think grain is cool even if it's digital. I think it adds a certain level of realism to the photos that I feel like nowadays a lot of professional cameras are missing because, you know, they're so sharp and they're so clear. But I've also noticed that it really helps when I'm shooting with these Fujifilm simulations, specifically the one I'm using today, which is Kodachrome 64. It adds this specific kind of vibrance and saturation to the reds, oranges, and blues that I just can't get enough of. And because our model today has all of these beautiful colors on their skin or on their, well, obviously on their hair, on the jacket, on everything, it adds a really cool layer of colorfulness that it would otherwise not have. So we tried a couple different outfits. We did a little bit of a punk rock look here, a little bit of a skin look too. So enjoy the photos, and then we'll get right into the editing. So now that we're in Lightroom, I'm gonna just choose a photo that I think shows the most difference in color. So we have blue, we have white, we have darks, and we have the red hair obviously here from our model. So what we're gonna do now is what I always start off with, which is the exposure and contrast. So for exposure, what we're gonna do here is just lift it up a tiny bit. I do think it's already pretty well, but what I like to do here is make sure that I am kind of almost blurring out the background. I'm not focused so much on our model's face here as much as I am on the background being whiter, which is kind of what I'm going for and what I usually go for. For the contrast, I like to pull that up quite a bit because I do like my photos to be a little bit punchy. So what I'm gonna do here is go up and see what works best. Around 13 seems to be the sweet spot here. Also, what could work for you is to just go back and forth, you know, and just kind of see what works better, what looks better on the model. And so we're gonna land on like 13 here. The highlight shadows, whites and blacks, which I usually keep it pretty consistent throughout my whole thing. I lower the whites to where I think feels about right. I do also pull up the darks, which are going to be about 10, and then I like to pull down the whites quite a bit, about -13 or so. And then the blacks I also tend to push down a lot. I pull down the blacks quite a bit, as you can see, obviously. Next thing I do is temperature and tint. So what I'm noticing here is that I'm going a little bit too blue. So let's pull up a tiny bit so we can bring in a little more of that pigmentation in the model's skin. So we're going to go to about +4 seems to be good, and just mess around, see what works for you. Now for the greens, it seems like we're going a little too much in the green direction. So let's pull that up to the purple somewhere not too far around here. Now that that's done, we can move on to the next thing, which is texture and clarity. Texture and clarity is also one of my favorite things to do. This is kind of where I add all of the real passion to the photo. A lot of the actual boom boom of the photo comes in texture and clarity. For the texture, I like to pull that up, and I'm a sucker for texture. I don't go super crazy because then it can make the photos look super over edited. So I like to keep it around the teens. Clarity I also like to pull up, but not as much, because clarity definitely makes a difference. As you can see here, it can go really bad really quick. So I just keep it something nice in the before the 10. So let's say we do around 7 or 8. And dehaze I never touch because it is just not the right case to use it for in this one. So here we have our photo right now. Another thing I like to do is crop. I'm a big fan of cropping, and normally I do it at 4:5 just because I think that's the best for this type of portrait. So that already looks really nice. Let's do the before, after, have a little pop of color. It has that little special thing about it. Another huge thing I do is saturation and vibrance. Sometimes I pull up the vibrance, but in this photo shoot, I didn't think that it needed it because we already have such a colorful model. So we're going to bring this saturation actually down quite a bit. Not quite a bit, just a tiny bit. Something around there. The next thing is the curve. Now the curves is another one of those tools that takes quite a bit of time to learn. And I used to always do the S-curve in my photos, which is basically just going up here and down here to get that nice contrast between the highlights and lowlights. But what I've found to work for me is actually just moving them a tiny bit like this. And then the blacks here at the very left, I pull them up just right about above the line. And that to me seems to work just fine. And just fine tune it to what you think works best in your scenario. But that looks about good to me. HSL, this is another huge one. I'm going to start off with the hue for every color, then the saturation for every color. I'm just going to number them off because it's a lot of stuff. But what I did for this one was, +1 on the red, or you can do +2, -1 in the orange, minus in the yellow. Green, we're going to go +1, +2, doesn't matter. Then for the aqua, I did, and sorry, I'm reading off some notes here because I wrote down what I wanted to say. Then we have a +1, then purple, we have -10, -3, -20 here, -10, -20, +8 in the aqua, +9, and then for the purple we have 2, and this we have +8, and that's for the hair. And then luminance, we're gonna have -25 on the red, -10 here, then -12 on the blue. Okay, so now that that's done, it's what the final product should look like. This is with the actual add-ons on, and this is when you turn them off. So you see we kind of desaturated the photo quite a bit just to add that little bit of muteness to the photo that I personally like, just because I don't want it to be too orange or too yellow in any specific thing. Those are actually probably my least favorite colors, yellows and oranges, so I try to stay away from that. But anyways, now we have that. The next thing is going to be the wheel of fortune, as I call it. This is kind of where your photo really comes together, when you can give your photo a vibe. For the midtones, I usually start with the midtones, and I try to go somewhere that is pretty neutral. So what I like to do is I spin this little wheel, see what I like. I'm liking this kind of orangey kind of vibe over here, and I try not to stay too far away from the actual middle because you can get into dangerous territory there. So we're gonna have our model be a little bit orange, add a little bit of that orange here. Then for the highlights, which are this one on the left, I'm gonna add almost the same color just because we have red in that hair. I think it looks kind of nice. I also do like this blue here, but I think I'm gonna stick to this yellow kind of color here. And then for the shadows, that's where I add a little bit of blue to give that background a little bit of stand out, So there we go. We have that basic image. Everything else I don't really touch. If you want want to add noise, any of that, that's up to you. Maybe I'll add a little bit of noise here and just leave it as it is, and boom. All right guys, and that's pretty much it. Here's the final image before Photoshop. Now you can always take it the extra step and take it into Photoshop to use the spot removal and maybe remove all the hairs that are out of place, blemishes in the skin, things like that. However, I think that's a little bit obnoxious for me to post because it's a very simple tool, and I'm sure that you guys have used it before. If not, I can make a video for you, but I didn't think it was necessary for this specifically because I wanted to show you mostly the colors that I do. So we have the before and the after of photo here. Back to Juan from the past who shot these photos to say goodbye to you. All right guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for 4,100 subscribers. I just want to give a huge shout out to Sophie here for helping me out today, and next time I see you I will be doing 3 lines. Okay, and I can't say that on YouTube.
Oh my God.
Next time I see you I will be building a whole office building with my bare hands. Stay tuned.